Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. What a great turnout we have for our first Salesforce Women's Community event. Thank you so much for being here today with us as we celebrate Women's History Month with this incredible LinkedIn Live discussion. My name is Sarah Hale, and I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Coastal Cloud, a platinum-level Salesforce partner headquartered in Palm Coast, Florida. I started this company along with my husband, Tim, to create the consulting firm that we would have wanted to work for. I graduated with a degree in computer science a long time ago and started a career in IT consulting right out of college with a large consulting firm. I loved the work, but it required me to be on site at the client's location full time, and all of my clients were out of town. So for 7 years, I traveled and worked out of town for the week and flew home for the weekend. There was no way I wanted to continue this lifestyle when I decided to have kids. So I left my job and chose to stay at home and raise our family for the next 10 years. My baby play group was composed of my former colleagues who had also left our company for the same reason, including one male whose wife decided to continue the consulting path while he stayed at home with the kids. She ended up becoming the CEO of a very large technology company. When we moved to Florida in 2008 and the kids were in elementary school, my husband and I decided to start a company that provided management and technology consulting services. In our work with this company, we implemented Salesforce for a few of our clients. I could not believe how rapidly we could build these solutions and that I could do it from home and to be an adult in the house while still taking care of my kids and helping them if they needed something. As a result of this, we decided to start Coastal Cloud in 2012 and open a solution center in Palm Coast, Florida. Our tagline is "Live at the beach, work in the cloud." We intentionally created a structure that allows for more flexibility in the workplace so we could attract and retain a more diverse workforce to help us achieve our growth objectives. The changes in technology that have happened in the past 3 decades enables this flexibility and is amazing. A consultant no longer is required to physically be on site to build these robust systems for our clients. Work no longer needs to be completed during traditional hours of a workday. Defining project-based deliverables allows people to complete tasks on a schedule that works in harmony with their responsibilities and commitments outside of work. The pandemic has really proven the value of cloud-based technologies to run a business while keeping our employees and customers safe. For all of these reasons mentioned above, I really believe that environment is prime to support the next generation of women entrepreneurs, which is why we have formed the Women Founders Salesforce Partner Group, who organized this event today. At Coastal Cloud, we continue to build a culture that helps our employees keep their work-life balances the way they want it to be. Today, we have 280 employees. Almost 50% are women, way above the average in the tech world. We also have more women than men in leadership positions. When we set up the company, we knew that the power of the cloud would allow us to recruit a broader workforce that otherwise would not be able to work for us if they were made to work on site. So today we have employees in 31 different states. It allows us to easily be on site for a client meeting if requested, while keeping work-life harmony. And today, more than ever, during the pandemic, we have seen that opportunities can exist while working from home with flexibility. So it's a really, really exciting time for women-owned and women-founded businesses to thrive. This group of women-owned Salesforce partner was formed to inspire each other, to build each other up, and define and overcome obstacles to help the other women grow and strengthen their businesses. We have 11 women founders who have founded this group across the Salesforce Partner and ISV network. Here are the women entrepreneurs that have started consulting companies. Dina Turney, founder and CEO at Pacific Point. Melissa Shepard, president and CEO of Blizzard Tech Consulting. Tammy Howes, CEO and founder of Versus 12. Gemma Blazard, CEO and solution architect at the Architect Club and founders of Ladies Be Architects. Vera Loftus, Managing Director of Solution Junkies. Tiffany Spencer, Partner and COO of ESOR Consulting Group and the founder of HBCU Force. Here are the women entrepreneurs that have started ISVs, which are product companies built on the Salesforce platform. Melanie Fillet, CEO at Speckit. Jamie Cole, Chief Operating Officer at Taskray. Jen Knight, co-founder and CTO of AgentSync. Rena Gupta, founder and CEO of Avankia LLC and founder of Mom Relaunch. The objective of our group is to grow our businesses, identify and overcome obstacles, for example, access to capital, cash flow, talent recruitment, etc. Increase visibility and awareness of our brands and our services and our products. Encourage more entrepreneurs in our ecosystem to go for it. So I'm thrilled to be here with you today to highlight the impressive women that are part of the Salesforce ecosystem and to provide you with insightful panelists who will talk about how women can build tech careers and also how to develop women talent in your company. We want to rise and shine together. There are several reasons why groups like ours are important, and I'm going to give you a few statistics that are a bit disheartening. In 2020, only 2.3% of venture capital went to women-owned enterprises. In the tech industry specifically, statistics show that about 20% of entry and mid-level employees are women, which drops to 16% in middle management and 10% of executives. Finally, 2.2 million women have left the labor market since the beginning of the pandemic. Women are often the primary caretaker, and the responsibility of remote learning and other activities has been placed on their shoulders at a higher level than their male counterparts. On a positive note, a recent study from the Boston Consulting Group evaluated 350 companies that have been a part of the Mass Challenge program. The study revealed that for every dollar of investment raised, female-run startups generated 78 cents in revenue, whereas male-run-up startups generated only 31 cents. As we might expect, women outperformed their male counterparts despite raising less money. This collaborative effort of this group is critical to changing these statistics. We want every women-owned business to rise and shine. Now is even more important to look at creative ways to get women in the Salesforce ecosystem. I am incredibly grateful to be here today as a woman entrepreneur, and I'm also grateful that we have the support of women like Mania Moore, who works day in and day out to increase diversity and ensure women feel included in the Salesforce community. Mania is the Salesforce Ecosystem Diversity and Inclusion Director. I'd love for you to share a few thoughts on why today's event is so important.
Thank you, Sarah. It is such a pleasure to be here today to celebrate all the phenomenal women in our partner community. One thing that I absolutely love about, this forum is that we get to share and hear personal career stories from a diverse group of women. I believe this is important because when we see people who look like us seated at the table and calling the shots, it opens our eyes to possibilities for ourselves. Showcasing or spotlighting women in tech and entrepreneurs illuminates the opportunities that the next generation of women leaders can follow, and it further motivates those of us who are already in our careers. Personally, I have had many people along my career and life journey who have opened my eyes to possibilities and who have even opened doors to opportunities. So I hope today the audience will be inspired by these stories. My career journey is somewhat different than what Sarah's is and what she shared earlier. I chose the corporate track. I graduated with a degree in supply chain management, a field that I selected at the recommendation of a friend's older sister. Her name was Shannon, because honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. My priority was to start a career at a company within an industry where I can get a good salary and insurance because I was a young single mother. Shannon encouraged me to go into supply chain management since it was a field that was emerging at the time and there were a lot of job opportunities. Shannon helped position me to shine in a field with high demand for talent. I decided to go into tech, and about 5 years into my career, I toyed with the idea of pursuing a master's degree. I recall discussing this desire with my then manager, Scott, who was an active ally before the term was even defined. With humility and raw honesty, he encouraged me to get a degree, if that was something that I wanted to do. Not because it would make me smarter, his words, not mine, but because it would provide additional credibility, especially in rooms where no one looked like me. Scott helped position me to shine by encouraging me to further my education and development, which increased my chances of getting a seat at the table. So I went and got my MBA with a focus on entrepreneurship, which not only helped to hone my business skills, but also to understand and appreciate the joys and the many struggles of entrepreneurs. And in 2013, there was an increased scrutiny around the lack of diversity in tech. Many companies were being questioned not only about who they were hiring, but also which companies that they were purchasing from. And I happen to be passionate about diversity, led several initiatives as side projects over my career. And so my then manager, Frank, asked me to lead the charge. We wanted to move supplier diversity from an initiative where it was compliance driven to one that was more of a competitive advantage with the focus on leading the industry. Frank helped to position me to shine by opening the door for me to use my skills and my experience to make a bigger impact in an area that aligned with my passion. For almost a decade, I have had the privilege of working with many entrepreneurs and diverse-owned businesses, advocating for their inclusion within the global supply chain. Leveraging my role, network, and platform has positioned them to shine and generated over $1 billion of spending with these diverse-owned companies collectively. Last November, I started on a new journey, moving out of procurement and into the partner ecosystem at Salesforce. And in my role as Partner Diversity and Inclusion Director, I have met with many business leaders. Just like in the supply chain, it is clear in the partner ecosystem that diversity and inclusion is not just a nice to have, it's a must have. Customers want to be connected to diverse-owned and founded businesses, and more companies are putting their money and their purchasing power behind their words and their values. My job is to make an impact in the Salesforce ecosystem with initiatives that drive more representation, build capacity for our diverse-owned partners, and increase visibility, enabling our customers to find them. You may be familiar with the McKinsey study, which found a clear connection between racial and ethnic diversity and better financial outcomes for companies. Women in diverse-owned companies are an essential part of the equation for business success. I personally like how Melanie Hobson, co-CEO of Arrow Investment, framed actions around equality. She says, and I quote, "In America, you don't get points for trying, you do or you do not. It's not good enough to have good intent. It is about taking action. And working with women entrepreneurs, building a larger talent pool of women in tech, and supporting groups like the Salesforce Women's Founders Group is essential to the future of tech. I am absolutely honored to be here today with these phenomenal women. So without further ado, Sarah, let's get started with our first panel."
Mania, what a great story, and thank you for sharing that. I am excited to introduce our first panel, Developing Women Talent in Your Company. We have 4 fantastic speakers who are going to share their insight with you and answer any questions you may have. I will start with some questions that I have, but then we will be taking questions from the chat. So please ask the questions as we go. I'm going to ask each of our speakers to give a brief introduction of themselves. First, Tiffany Spencer is the Chief Operating Officer at eSOAR Consulting Group and the founder of HBCU Force. Tiffany, tell us more about you.
Yes, hello, thank you for having me. My name is Tiffany Spencer. I am a graduate of Bethune-Cookman University, a private HBCU in Daytona Beach, Florida, that was founded by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. Bethune was a renowned educator, advisor to several presidents, and founder of the National Council for Negro Women. The mission of NCNW is to lead, empower, and advocate for women of African descent, their families, and their communities, something that I did not take full advantage of while I was in school, but actually helped me to start my tech career. I started my tech career in 2004 working at the Kennedy Space Center, an opportunity I was given while volunteering with the NCNW at school at a career fair. I met a woman from the Kennedy Space Center who was so impressed with me that she actually gave me my very first opportunity and recruited me to work there. I've been in the tech space for over 15 years. I guess longer now, and 13 years of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem. I started out as a business analyst and Salesforce administrator for a small company. I was one of the first 500 certified, and I guess I kind of decided I liked this Salesforce thing. And so I have grown from an admin to a business analyst, consultant, solution engineer, and now I am the COO of and partner at ESOR Consulting Group. ESOR is a minority-owned Salesforce implementation partner that serves educational institutions, nonprofits, and other organizations looking to serve the communities around them. ESOR utilizes talent from HBCU Force to help develop the next generation of Salesforce consulting professionals. And every project that ESOR completes gives someone the real-world experience that they need to advance within the technology field. And as the executive director and founder of HBCU Force, I am so honored that I was able to bring my two passions, the Salesforce world and my love for HBCUs and workforce development together. And it's been such an amazing journey. So thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Thank you, Tiffany. Our next panelist is Tammy Howes, CEO and founder of Versus 12. Tammy, please give us some more details.
Thanks, Sarah. And also thanks to Salesforce for promoting this very important topic that I'm definitely passionate about. So I started Versus 12 in 2011, and that was after a career in corporate healthcare IT. And I started my career as a software developer, which back then was not very common. But I eventually made it through the ranks to CIO and CTO, which is also not very common in healthcare or tech. But I was put in charge of strategic initiatives within several organizations, and then that's when I was introduced to Salesforce. And I knew that the Salesforce platform could really make a huge impact on the healthcare industry. So I decided later in my career to start Versus 12 with the mission of transforming healthcare. So we started as a consulting partner, as an SI in 2011, but in 2015, we listed our first application on the Salesforce App Exchange and became an ISV partner. And as Sarah said, at one point in my career, I also decided to stay home after I had my second child. And so I know the challenges for women re-entering the workforce. And I really look forward to discussing the different ways that Versus 12 has worked and encouraged and mentored other women in our company through the years. I'm also part of several women's organizations, and I found that through the years, it's important to be part of a community that supports me. As one of my friends says, it's important to find your tribe. So I hope that this group can be that for many of you.
Thanks so much, Tammy. Our third panelist is Rena Gupta, founder and CEO of Avankia LLC and founder of Mom Relaunch, an initiative helping stay-at-home moms successfully return to the workforce. Rena, tell us more about yourself.
Thanks, Sarah. And it's really exciting to see this group coming into the formation. I call myself as a small town girl turning into a social technopreneur. And when I was growing up back in my town, there was no concept of even women having a career. Forget about being an entrepreneur. So it's an amazing journey. And my entrepreneurship role started sometime way back when in 2002. And it was a story. I just had my child, and the company that I was working as, they got sold and they let my position go. I took that opportunity to form my first IT staffing and consulting as an independent consultant, and went back to the same company as a independent consultant because they couldn't find another person who can do a better job for architecting their system. And since then, I have converted that IT staffing company into a consulting, into Salesforce consulting partner, into an ISV partner, to a point that now I'm running my social entrepreneurship mission to make every woman financially independent. I think this is the best time for women to have a career if they want to be an entrepreneur, again, Salesforce has given the platform and the support system. I mean, I don't think I could have ever imagined building a product like what we built on ISV, being an ISV partner, if the platform like Salesforce was not there. So since starting from Salesforce in 2005, where I believe I was one of the first or second women founder of the companies in there. And then obviously when App Exchange was launched, we were one of the first few applications on App Exchange for managing the entire hiring and the staffing business. It has been quite a journey. It has been quite a journey for now seeing things, women being trained and nurtured through a program of Mom Relaunch, and they are seeing it's amazing to see the confidence, and it's amazing to get that support. So I'm very thrilled to share my thoughts and vision of what Salesforce ecosystem can mean to the women in technology and for their own career. So thank you for having me.
Thanks very much, Rena. Our final panelist is Jamie Cole, Chief Operating Officer at Taskray. Jamie, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so I am the Chief Operating Officer of Taskray. I'm actually not the founder, but we are an ISV partner in Salesforce, and we were co-founded by a woman. So that gender diversity is in the fabric of our company. A little bit about me. My background actually was in food science engineering, and I quickly realized that is not what I wanted to do. So I got into marketing, and was in marketing all the way from large corporations to nonprofits, and then found the Salesforce ecosystem back around 2014 and really fell in love with it. So I took the job with Taskray, and I've held several different positions with Taskray and worked my way into the Chief Operating Officer role. I am also a single parent, and so I support my family, and I really love the way that Salesforce, the ecosystem, and Taskray allows me to do both things. I'm particularly proud of working at Taskray, and I've been there for 6 years, because being co-founded by a woman, we have maintained this gender balance as we've grown from 5 employees to 32 employees, all the way from the leadership team throughout the rest of the company. And it is a wonderful place to work, not only because we are great with our customers, I think stronger from having this gender balance. We've got over 1,000 customers at this point, but it's an environment that empowers women and allows you to grow in the direction that you want to grow in.
Great. Well, as I said, we have an incredible panel here. So let's start with a question about talent development. As you all have experienced, growing diverse and inclusive talent doesn't happen on its own. It takes a lot of work and effort to bring a great diverse group of employees together. Can you give us some suggestions on how to pursue a diverse talent pool from traditional and also non-traditional sources? Rena, I'll start with you.
Well, thanks, Sarah. Let me start by saying that there is no traditional or non-traditional talent pool. We all are talented. It's just a matter of finding the right environment and the right support system to nurture. And the work that I'm doing at Mom Relaunch is just proving that point over and over again. I've heard several of you saying that you were at some point, you were at a stay-at-home taking career break, but you all came back. You all came back. Either you did it on your own or you got some support. And we have created a model where most of the time, people, when they are not confident enough, even if they're talented, they lose that whole opportunity. And that confidence is what we bring in the talent pool. I always say that learning how to write a code or doing things, these are hard skills, and the job skills you can always learn. But the soft skills that you get as part of being of community, the confidence level, the environment and the support that you get from your peer support is very important. And the model we created at our Mom Relaunch, we call it as a 4-step process. It can be easily replicated to any talent pool, whether it is, and we are reaching out to women who are going through domestic abuse, and hopefully we can go and reach out to any other, I call it as underrepresented talent pool, and help give them the support to nurture. So our whole mission, our whole value system that we are bringing is to bring the support and help each other. So we created a peer guide for anyone who is coming into our program. We are giving them the key element that is important for being successful, and that is the work experience and the confidence. We partner with training partners, but the experience of working on hands-on, because when you're coming up into a career after such a long gap, you are looking to not only just go into the workforce with certification and training, but also getting that hands-on experience. You can go back and say, yes, I worked on this requirement, I worked on this project, and that's what we call as a launch pad. That launch pad, we have huge support from clients and giving us the projects, making us part of their program. And once they like us, we tell them if they like to hire, and we have created this whole try before you hire for methodologies. Like, you can come and try our talent, and if you like, then you hire. There's nothing for you to lose. And if every company can use this kind of methodology, and with the mindset, the talent pool that they're hiring is not a charity. If they are not looking at this talent pool, they are the ones who are missing out. And that's the value of bringing that talent pool together, and creating that process for nurturing. No matter what background a person has, they can always be nurtured to the future they want to live in. And that's what we work for.
Great, Rena. Tammy, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, Rena, I could not agree with you more. I think that support is just critical. And at Versus 12, I always think we're not doing enough, but we're definitely trying to bring in a diverse workforce. And also, I think small steps count. Small steps every day lead to really big change. So some of the things we've done in the past, we've hired women that have been out of the workforce, for 10 or more years to raise their family, and they've had a successful track record prior to stepping out of the workforce. And they've really come into our company with this energy and this drive, and that's what's made them successful. And absolutely, they need a support system to do that. But I think they make really the best employees. And in fact, one of the employees we brought in, after working for us for about 4 years, she went on to Salesforce. So I hope that demonstrates that we've trained and coached and mentored her really well. And she's still a very good friend of the firm. We've also been successful in bringing women that are changing careers. So just here lately, due to COVID, we hired a lady who was previously part of the Nashville Symphony. And she was a violinist, and because of COVID, their work slowed down. She went to the Nashville Software School. I think it was about an 8-month program, got a degree there, and we've hired her. And here in Nashville, we like to say that there's this huge connection between musical ability and technical analysis skills, and we've been able to prove that over and over. So that's just one other example. Another thing is especially as I get older, I realize that there's this huge talent pool in women that may have had other careers and want to get into technology, and they've got fantastic skills. And so I really, really support women of all ages getting in technology. Sometimes technology is seen as a young person's career, but I really see it as a career for people who really want to make change. And then I guess my last point would be that I have found that both women and men make great mentors for other women, because we do, I think, often discount ourselves. And I've learned that I really need a support group of people around me that encourage me to reach for my dreams and lift up other women and lift me up. And so in my experience, having a positive network of encouraging people around me has been key.
That's really awesome. I've been able to, with HBCU Force, work with not only career transitioners, but work with college students and work with high school graduates. And so being able to focus in and be an example for young ladies that are in college or in school that maybe have not seen an example of a woman in tech. And sometimes you have professors that maybe the language that's being used are more geared toward young men. And so it's been very rewarding to explain to young women that there are multiple different paths in the technology space, and to be able to give them more options and to show them how they can utilize the skills that they have outside of programming, if they so choose. But there are many, many other career paths in which they can participate in. And so I think as an employer, reaching out into working with different workforce organizations, looking at the language that you're using in your job postings, and having a diverse group of interviewers, both writing the job descriptions and in your interview process would be a great help.
Great advice, everyone. Thank you. The pandemic has changed the workplace and workforce permanently. How can companies plan to be ready for the future job market? How to hire globally? How do we grow a sense of community and culture with remote workforce? What is your advice or practical examples and ideas to help other businesses in this environment? And Jamie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge challenge in terms of creating cultures of connection and even onboarding. We've hired and onboarded people completely remotely for the first time regularly over this past year. And so we've done a few different things that I actually think have worked. One thing that we had already had this, but we moved it to be a virtual thing. We started a business ladies book club at work. And we pick a different book to read each. It was quarterly, but we've actually made it shorter. And it's a wonderful way to keep people connected, but also to be talking about these larger ideas that are impacting all of society and helping to mentor and grow some of the younger female talent in our company. We actually open it up to Business Ladies and Allies Book Club. So it's not just for women, but the focus really is around issues of working women and women in the workplace and how everyone can support them and make it a more inclusive environment. We've also done some other really fun things where we broke the company up into groups of people that would not normally interact virtually. And we gave them a small stipend, and each team came up with a new activity for us to do on a Friday afternoon. And we've done all kinds of things, from a dance therapy hour to making sandwiches, to one group put together their travel slideshow and took us through all their most favorite trips they've ever been on in their life. And it was a really wonderful way of staying connected and seeing what people's different passions were. So
those are great ideas. I hope you don't mind if I steal some.
No, you should steal them. They're great. And we're getting ready to do a contortion workshop with a woman that I actually take flexibility classes with, because the thing I've learned by taking flexibility classes is flexibility is not what people think it is. It's not a passive state at all. It's actually an incredibly active state, but it involves training muscles that are underutilized and using them in the right order to achieve these feats of flexibility. And so she's going to come teach our group, and hopefully that'll translate a little to how you can use that in the workplace.
Well, and if that's on video, that's going to be entertaining to watch for sure.
I won't record it.
Anyone else have any ideas or suggestions?
Yeah, I would love to just add a couple of things. While remote working is new now, I have always ran my companies remotely, and being the CEO of the company and having clients over all the 50 countries and all that, and 1,000 clients and all, it was a journey that takes time in the mindset. Okay, the mindset has to change for both for the culture and the mindset for employees and your customers. I still remember my first employee that I hired was from Ukraine, and that is, I'm talking about in 2008 when I hired, and that was the person who actually architected my entire product. And it was an amazing experience for me to get a talent pool at an affordable price at that time, and understand that companies, if they don't go or don't understand the value of global talent pool right now, they will be left behind. They will be totally left behind. And talent who feel that they have advantage just being in one part of the country versus the other, they are in for some rude awakening, because they don't know where the talent and competition going to be. So it's a very different mindset and the workforce. And I just recently interviewed a person who nurtured talent who are disabled, and she made a very interesting statement with the whole world being remote. The companies and the workforce, they are all disabled because what they were able to do in person, they are not able to do it anymore. So they are all finding ways to work it out. And this time is so important for everybody to understand that not to leave anybody behind. And for Mom Relaunch, it has been an amazing, because the companies who were saying no to them before, because they were not very open on going to in person, they're looking forward to giving them remote and flexible options. And I think companies are opening up, and it is a very good time. It's an extremely good time for any talent to showcase wherever they are. There's hardly any challenges in terms of course, we don't know what things will change once everything opens, but that mindset is already set now. And that we have to continue to build on top of it.
Great. All right, another question. How can we grow our talent to be more entrepreneurial? And Tiffany, I'll start with you.
One way that we've done that at ESOR is to constantly allow our employees to take on new challenges, whether that is stepping into a new role, leading a project that is a different area or product than they're used to. And I love to give challenges to our employees. We have two really amazing women that work with us. One is a career transitioner, and the other is newer to the space. Her background is in digital marketing, and it has really been amazing to help them step out of their comfort zone by giving them a new challenge and then supporting them along the way. And so I think talking to your employees, communicating with them, finding out what their goals are, and really putting them into positions where they can stretch themselves and you can still provide support, and they feel safe to really rise to the occasion. They feel supported. I think that helps to grow those entrepreneurial skills.
Great. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add?
There's an Amazon Prime person coming to my door, so I might only have 1 second, but I think the biggest thing that we, because my dogs bark, is we do communications training. And while that is something that I think everyone can benefit from, in particular, especially for women first starting in the workforce, it really helps and supports them to be clear, concise, and confident in their communications, which I think underlies a lot of people's ability to go out and be entrepreneurial within their organization. I can just say from my own benefit, and I've really only been doing this training for the past 2 years, it has helped me grow tremendously and present my ideas a lot more confidently and clearly and move them forward within any organization. And I'm seeing that benefit translate to people who are starting their career, to mid-career folks. And so I think it's an important way to empower women in the workplace.
Great.
Yes.
How do we ensure that all companies understand that embracing this workforce and talent pool can provide better service to your clients while also being very profitable for your business? So Tiffany, I'll start with you on this one.
I think that leaders, they always say leaders are readers. And if you are a leader and you are reading, there's a lot of research out there that talks about the benefits both to your bottom line and to your culture when you increase diversity in your company. And so that's not a secret at all. I mean, at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned, and Mania mentioned, several statistics that are already available. And so I think that embracing different talent pools, embracing diversity is really powerful for your business because it allows you to have more people that can connect with your clients on a different level outside of just the service that you're offering. Your clients love to know that you have not only technical expertise, but other areas in which they can connect with you, and they know that you understand not only their technical problems, but where they really how they really work and the communities that they come from and the communities that they serve. And so I think that it's really powerful, especially in the consulting side, to have consultants from all different backgrounds that can provide different points of views for your projects.
Great. Rena, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, it's time for companies to understand and to know that if they're not using the talent pool, they are the ones who are missing out. It's not in their hand anymore. I'm sorry to say this, but this is like how social media has gone out and given control to people to give their voices. Talent has gone out and nurturing themselves. And if companies don't have the process and to understand and hire the right talent and look for the right talent at the right place, they are going to miss out big time. So at this point, there is the use of that word talent is so misleading. Is they think that a talent is just what they can do their job. A talent is the one who can add bottom line revenue to their company and how they can look for in that angle. Otherwise, companies they will miss out is all I can say. So have that mindset to look the talent beyond their resume, beyond the like again. Some of you mentioned about the talent that you have hired. I summarize the talent pool we are nurturing. They're accountable, they're loyal, they're productive. Where will you get this kind of talent pool? Can you teach them? Maybe, but it comes with the experience that parenting and other things that brings in. And if the companies are not looking beyond their resume, they need to step up on that game.
Yeah.
So,
anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that question?
Yeah, I would just say that I totally agree with everything that's been said, and I really see it as a competitive advantage. The statistics are out there, the reports are out there, but beyond that, talent is hard to find. Really good talent is hard to find. So why you would be limiting yourself in any way is not really a smart move anymore. Plus the fact that for me at Versus 12, I wanted to start the company and work with people that I liked. And it's important for me to have a great culture. And the more different mindsets that you have and the more diversity in that, the more fun it is for employees and to make friendships with each other. So I think that's something that maybe can't be measured succinctly, but I think it definitely shows.
Great. All right. And so next question. So this is one I feel very strongly about, that I really believe this conversation we're having today needs to become more mainstream. It's not just, other women who need, to understand this, but all companies need to get educated on why this makes good business sense. So what do you all think can be done to get more support from allies and companies to achieve this? So Rena, I'll start with you.
Yeah, again, I have a lot to talk about on this topic because I have been saying over and over again, it's not just the talent to understand what they can do. It's companies to identify and recognize that. And unless they change their hiring pipeline, they still use a lot of the so-called traditional methods of hiring. They go to the job boards, they go to all these things, recruiters, staffing companies. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but they have to look and change their mindset to say, how can I bring in talent that can add value? And I have one very interesting statement to make on this is like, there are people and companies who are going all out for hiring college interns. Okay. They don't look at the talent pool that we are nurturing. Why? Because they feel that they are late in the game. And they're not valuing the skills and the soft skills that our talent pool is bringing. And now when we are seeing that whole push of, diversity and equality and women and all, they're trying to step up the game. But I am so sorry to say this, but they're still a lip service. They're still a lip service. And I cannot stress this fact enough that companies need to not only just show the numbers on the paper, but also show that in their results, show in the numbers that women are adding value to their company. And there's no better way to go back and start to try them out. There's no better way to change their hiring strategy. There's no better way to go back and understand and give opportunities, similar opportunities that they're so openly giving to college interns. We were, in fact, I invited on a Dreamforce pitch fest where it was only for college students. And I was so happy that Salesforce invited us, and we made it to, out of all 100 plus colleges, we made it to the top 4. Our team of moms were showcasing their solution for Red Cross that they built on the Dreamforce pitch, our stage. So until they open up their mindset, until they come up with the fact that we are going to look for all other areas to hire this talent, companies are not going to be able to get the right talent pool.
Jamie, do you have any ideas on this one?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the allies, it is going to have to be a comprehensive solution, because you know, women already wear a lot of hats in society and in their homes, and for women to be empowered to achieve more in their career, not only do they have to have allies outside of work, but they need to have allies at work. What I've found is that a lot of men at work really do want to be allies. And I have not run across many who don't, but it's not readily apparent how they can be allies. And so some of it is around education about what you can do, how to check biases around women in leadership positions, how to give women more opportunities to speak and showcase their talent. But it is going to be a comprehensive solution, from personal to professional, for women to rise more in leadership.
Tiffany or Tammy, anything to add?
Yeah, I think that in my experience, if I've ever had an opportunity to influence someone that may not be thinking outside the box as it relates to hiring, and specifically the hiring of women, I like to bring it down to a personal level, because most people have a sister, a friend, a daughter. Daughters really get people. And if you think about what you want for your daughter and the future of your daughter, and then how you're messaging to your actions in your own company, that hits home with people and allows them to kind of change their frame of reference. Because I agree that I have not met many men that mean to hold women back in any way. They just maybe don't know or don't realize some of their actions or split-second decisions that they might make that might hold women back. So that's been a successful way to communicate, a way to shift people's minds for me.
Okay.
And I think that these conversations help to bring the conversation more mainstream, so that people in different organizations can hear the ideas, can hear the thought process. But there are also, consultants that specifically do this for companies. And so I think having a DEI strategy, and if needed, working with a DEI consultant is definitely very useful.
Great, thank you.
Well, I do like to add one more point on it. Is like I've always been seeing people talking about let's train women and talk about how they can go, but I personally believe it's time to teach men and even kids at home how they can support their moms in their career and how they can be proud of what their moms are doing. So it all starts at home. It all starts at home for men to be allies at home, and then they can extend that support and to their colleagues and at work.
Well, I hope my husband is listening. So.
If not,
right.
We need to start a session on that. I'm all for it.
And he is a great ally. So that was just a joke, because I know he is listening.
I'm sure.
Okay, so now we'll take a few questions from our audience. With many consulting businesses in the Salesforce ecosystem, what steps should we take to stand out in the crowd? So I think, Tiffany, you might have started the most recent one. So maybe what have you done to try to stand out in the crowd?
Lots of things. So we partner closely with Salesforce, and We have really great alliance managers and partnerships internally that have helped to guide us. The partner ecosystem is amazing, and there are a lot of resources there. Being product or cloud specific, picking an industry and really creating thought leadership in that area. We have a heart for nonprofits and HBCUs and education institutions, and we have done many events and around those areas specifically. And so I think there's a lot of different ways, and I think the partner community is definitely helpful with helping you figure out what path works for you. There's so many different paths, right? So you see people that have, figure out what's important to you, what can you do well, and make sure you're telling that story.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, what has Taskray done to help them stand out in the crowd?
So one of the things that we've done in terms of like our brand or hiring folks?
Anything. Just stand out. How do you get talent and how do you grow your business?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Right before I came to this, we recently just did a culture and values survey of our whole organization. And it was so fascinating to see what came out. And that really is that our culture is the thing that attracts the talent to the company. And it comes through even in the recruitment process. And so many people have said it was great to see a woman in this role that I would be working for. I wanted to work for a woman, and that there is a diverse group of people interviewing me and they ask different questions. And so having a strong culture, articulating that culture, and then actually embodying it in every interaction, whether it's with your customers, with each other internally, or at the recruitment stage, is a very good way to stand out, both as like getting people in and presenting your brand and growing your company.
Great. All right. We have another good question from the audience.
Sarah, I do like to add one thing on this point. Just one key word to understand and stand out: specialization. Just specialize either geographically or industry or a specific cloud. You cannot be a consulting partner doing everything. So just keep that in mind, what works for you. What for us, it was a staffing and hiring, and we specialized, we worked in every, so we keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Great.
and I agree with that, and just say it's a really hard thing to do, especially when you're starting out and you want to grab every dollar of revenue that's out there, and you're afraid that you're going to turn away money, really good money that you need to grow your business. But it is very important.
Thank you. All right, so here's a second audience question. What is the best way to find opportunities in the Salesforce ecosystem? And then parentheses, as a Salesforce certified individual. So whoever wants to take it.
I would say networking. So I teach my participants to create Twitter accounts, to update their LinkedIn, to join the community groups, to attend the conferences, to attend webinars, and to really meet people in the ecosystem. We've had a number of individuals that have made connections and found positions by just doing that. I also encourage people to not be afraid to send messages to individuals on LinkedIn. You have to have your story together. Making sure that you're interviewing properly, making sure your resume is updated. Sometimes I hear from individuals that are career transitioners, and they say, I'm new to the Salesforce ecosystem. Well, you're not new to work. You have skills that you have gained over the years that are valuable. So work with someone to help to tell your story. And really get out there and network and meet people. And I think that that's extremely helpful.
And don't be afraid.
And I will also add that talk about your work, answer questions. If you're a technical person, give suggestions, help others, because let the work that you do show and tell about you rather than just you talking about yourself. I mean, write the blogs, the work, the integration works that you have done or something, whatever you have done, try to be the subject matter expert so that people can come. And there's a very good book called Forever Employable. It's called How Can You Let the Work Find You rather than you finding the work. And I have interviewed that author. In fact, I have written a book called Career Interrupted, where people take their stock of who they are, what they are good at, and they can take the path where they want to be. And it's an amazing way to be a brand on your own. If you're a brand, people will come and find you rather than just you trying to go after the work. So it's very important to believe in yourself and what you are good at.
Great. And I'm not sure if there's any other questions from the group. So with that in mind, thank you, everyone. This has been a great panel. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing your stories. And I want to make sure everyone knows we have a second panel with Mania Moore, who's going to talk about building a career in tech and entrepreneurship. And I think we're just going to go ahead and move into that and have Mania start up. So welcome. So anyway, so thank all of you, and I can't wait to listen to the next panel. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. It was really a pleasure.
Hello. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. What an amazing panel we had. I know some of you have dropped off, so hopefully, we still have about 50 more minutes left. So please, if you have some friends that have dropped off and thought maybe we were done, please ring them and tell them to come back and share, because we have a phenomenal second half of the show today. I am so excited to talk about entrepreneurship with you all. I truly believe that entrepreneurship is power. It gives you ownership. It can help you build generational wealth. And as you heard from many leaders on our first panel, it gives us flexibility to balance our lives and all of the roles that we as women play in society and in our careers. On this next panel, we're going to hear from 3 women who have started careers in tech and built their own business, all while living their best life. So get ready to take notes, because I'm sure there will be some tweetable moments. And we will be continuing to monitor the chat, so please post any questions that you might have. Our conversation will focus on 3 themes: the opportunity for women in tech, entrepreneurship as a means to empowerment, and the power of community. So let's get this party started and meet our panel of rock star women entrepreneurs. They are coming to us from 4 different time zones, 2 continents, and across the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. First up from Hawaii, we have Dina Tierney, founder and CEO at Pacific Point. Welcome, Dina.
Hi, Mania.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It really warms my heart to know that there's so many people interested in diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And I think more specifically, increasing diversity and having more women entrepreneurs, which I love. My name is Dina Tierney. I'm the founder and CEO of Pacific Point. Pacific Point is a Salesforce consulting partner, and we help public sector and private sector companies implement Salesforce in the US and in Asia Pacific. As far as my career in tech, I guess growing up, I had a bit of a knack for analyzing, problem solving, or maybe just creating. I liked creating things. And in college, I found myself being interested in business. And I also knew that tech jobs were in demand. So for me, I wasn't the type to go into computer science, meaning that maybe I wasn't that technical. So I ended up in the College of Business, and I studied information systems. And so just after graduation, I started my career as a software engineer. And I guess you could say I never looked back on the decision to get into tech.
I love it. College of Business, tech, all the way. We're same in that respect. Thank you, Dina. Now we'll jump across the pond to Vera Loftus, Managing Director at Solution Junkies, where her day is just coming to a close in the UK. Hey, Vera, tell us about Solutions Junkie and what led you to tech.
Hi guys, I've just realized that the sun is coming in, so it really does look like my day is coming to a close. Nice to meet you all. I'm Vera Loftus. I've actually been in the Salesforce ecosystem for over a decade now. I started and built my career at a company called Blue Wolf, and have lived and breathed Salesforce for a very long time. But I think, like most people in the pandemic, I kind of found myself searching for a bit more meaning in the work. At the time, I was working at a big corporate consultancy, managing a very large team, and the day-to-day just made me realize that actually the projects that I wanted to deliver and the impact that I wanted to have wasn't necessarily what I was experiencing. Fortunately for me, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a group of individuals who felt exactly the same. So we kind of bonded together and built Solution Junkies, with purpose and meaning in mind. And so really, we're babies compared to everybody else, I think, on the panels. We've only been around for less than a year. But we are trying to take the Salesforce ecosystem and delivering projects to a new level and integrating, giving back and making a bigger impact on not only our employees, but society as a whole.
Thank you, Vera. You might be new baby entrepreneur, but not when it comes to all this experience and the talent that you have in the tech industry and the Salesforce ecosystem. So happy to have you on the panel. And next, from Virginia, on the East Coast of the United States, and happens to be the state where I was born, we have Nikhil Numalo, CEO at South Point Consulting. So thank you, Nikhil, for being here. And please tell us why you built your company or your career in tech, and what services South Point provides.
Awesome. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Nikhil Numalo, and I am the CEO of South Point Consulting. We are, as Mania said, we are based out of Alexandria, Virginia, and we provide services to the federal, commercial, and nonprofit organizations. And one of the things that we're proud of as a small business, we've been able to tackle some really complex projects and be very successful in that. And I'm also proud to say that we have over 50% women in the company, and I'm a huge advocate of women in tech in their careers. In terms of why I decided to pursue a career in technology, it was primarily based on what I studied. Like in high school, I was pretty good in math and science. And so back in the day before the internet, you would flip through magazines to read about careers and learn about different things. And I had two choices. I was looking at either pharmacy or engineering, and I ended up going with engineering. And then from there, from engineering, I was able to learn some software development, some programming, and I was able to get a career in consulting in software development.
Excellent. Such a great, diverse group of panelists here. I'm so excited. Each of you have shared what inspired your tech journey. And as we heard, there's been College of Business, engineering, all over. So let's dig a little bit deeper. And even before this tough year, with everyone stuck at home with digital devices, keeping us all connected, tech has been a growing and leading industry. And just in the Salesforce economy alone, it is projected that 4.2 million jobs and 1.2 trillion new business revenue will be created by the year 2025. I'm going to say that again, just in case you didn't understand. It's projected that 4.2 million jobs and 1.2 trillion new business revenue will be created by the year 2025 in the Salesforce economy alone. Crazy. So the opportunity is clearly there. Nikhil, let's start with you. What was your experience like as a woman pursuing a degree and career in tech?
So it was a great experience. Definitely a challenging one. Sometimes it can be intimidating if you are, one of few women in the program together. I recall a situation in my engineering program. There were three of us in the electrical engineering track that came in together, and we found ourselves always in labs together, like when we were doing the lab sessions. And we were like, why are we never, working with the guys in the class? There's always the three of us. And so we decided, one day we got together and we decided to get to class early for the beginning of a lab session and to sit at different stations. And then that would require, when the guys came in, of course they were surprised because they were like, oh no, like now we have to partner with one of them today. But it ended up being a really good experience, I think, for us and for them to just switch things up a bit and be exposed to different teams.
I love it. I love it. Vera, how was your journey to entrepreneurship inspired? And is anybody in particular in your community that kind of helped you along the way and pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of inspiration throughout my career, but part of the reason that I wanted to run a business is actually for a very pointed, specific story. So Eric Barrett, who a lot of people know in the Salesforce ecosystem, ran Blue Wolf for years and years. And he used to do this amazing thing, which I think I now appreciate almost more in retrospect. But we would go into big corporate meetings, pitches, or kind of peer codes. And if he found himself surrounded by men on the other side of the table, he would call it out and he would question. And he would say, do you not have any women that work for this company? Do you not employ women in leadership here? Like, what's going on? In a really, really assertive, borderlining on aggressive in some cases way. And even as a woman at the table, you were slightly like uncomfortable with it. And the reaction that he got was pretty amazing. And we later had a conversation about it, because doing that in and of itself is inspiring, right? But when we talked about why he does that, we had a conversation around how you change the movement, right? And there's a lot of grassroots, there's a lot of women supporting each other. But I think to actually change things, we need to work from the top down. And the people who run these companies, who are in charge of hiring and budgets and structures, they need to understand that diversity isn't just something we talk about on LinkedIn. It's not something we post about. It's actually something that will drive revenue forward. And until they're met with somebody at a peer level who's challenging their belief system, it's quite easy for that person to continue operating surrounded by people who look like them in the same way they always have. And to think about diversity and inclusion as an initiative that people run down here, as opposed to a fundamental belief in how they organize a business. And so it made me realize actually that to enact change and to have a greater impact, you not only need a seat at the table, but you need to be the type of CEO that Eric Barrett is, to call out that discrepancy every single time you see it. And it made me realize that I wanted a seat at the table, and I wanted to be able to be in that role to challenge others, to say, why aren't there women? Why aren't there a more diverse group of leaders that are meeting this purpose? So a pretty impactful story, I think, on me personally, but it's what fuels how I run my organization, and part of the reason that seat at the table is so important to me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. So I shared earlier about my my active ally, I call him, his name was Scott, that helped to encourage me to get a seat at the table. What was yours? What was his name? Yours? What was your Scott? Who was your Scott? What was his name?
Eric Barrett.
Eric. Nice. Okay. You know, before I go to the next question, I want to pivot back to Nikhil, because you talked about engineering. Tell us how you decided to go into entrepreneurship, though. How did you go from a career or college studying engineering into making a decision to go into entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I was working. I had a really great career at a fantastic company. But as I started to have children, my desires for how I wanted to work changed a bit. So after my second child, I decided that I needed a little more flexibility in my schedule and my time. But I still wanted to work, and I still wanted to be a contributor in the workforce. And so I decided to join my husband, who had started South Point Consulting, to work for the company. And what we decided to do as well was to have me purchase 51% of the shares, so that we could take advantage of some of those women-owned small business set-asides, with the federal government, state and local governments. So he always jokes to say it was best that we did that anyway, since I'm the boss at home. But whatever. I just, I think we have a good partnership, and we are able to take advantage of that designation.
Nice. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that importance of retaining that ownership and some of the benefits of entrepreneurship, which is the section that I want to actually shift to now. Some women have started careers or entrepreneurship as a side hustle. I happen to be one of those people that I have a side hustle. I do real estate investing on the side. And one of the benefits is the additional source of income. So you've heard Nikhil talk about the flexibility of building a schedule, some of the other benefits that even retaining majority ownership of her company has afforded her and fit into her lifestyle. So Dina, I want to shift over to you. You found a very nice location for your business out in Hawaii. I'm a little jealous. How did that happen? And what are some of the benefits that you realized from entrepreneurship?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll give a little background first to provide some context. Like I mentioned in the intro, I studied information systems in college, and I got my job as a software engineer. Within the first year of my career, I was working on CRM implementations, and that really became the basis for the rest of my career, working in industry as well as at consulting firms, doing and implementing CRM solutions. And I reached a point in my career where I had, you can call it a little burnout from the weekly travel. I think Sarah mentioned that in the intro as well, but that weekly travel and the long hours. And so I ended up getting an opportunity in Hawaii for, an industry job. And so I thought it would be a good thing to do, a couple years in Hawaii, work on my job and work on my tan at the same time. It seemed like a good idea. And as a hiring manager, I realized really quickly, an observation that I had was that organizations and companies in Hawaii experienced really unique challenges that I wasn't used to seeing in implementing enterprise solutions. And it was really due to just our smaller talent pool, the distance that we are from the rest of the US. And I didn't like, necessarily feeling or having the idea that some companies maybe, were lowering the bar, so to speak, with maybe expectations on available people, price points, or let's just call it general overall value. And so eventually I reached a point in my career where it was time for a change. And so I thought, I could give it a go and see if I could offer the market some high value consulting here in Hawaii, and particularly an area where I have most of my expertise, which was in CRM. And that's how Pacific Point began. And as far as the benefits of being an entrepreneur are concerned, I'll be really honest, make no mistake, there's a lot of work that goes into being an entrepreneur. And I'm sure all the women that we've had on this panel and the panel before can absolutely confirm it is an enormous amount of leadership, problem solving, and quite frankly, a lot of stomach to deal with the stresses that come along with being an entrepreneur. But for me, the way I look at it is, if you think about any job that you've ever had, the best jobs are the ones that you love the people you work with, you're enjoying the work environment, you feel like you're making an impact, your contributions are making a difference. And so, I could do Salesforce consulting, I'm sure, at a lot of different companies, and there are a lot of really fantastic ones out there. But at Pacific Point, for me, I have this ability to shape and manage meaningful work with an amazing team. And that's what has made this journey super special for me as an entrepreneur. And I think, I think that's a huge benefit.
I absolutely love that story. I, at one point, was an adjunct professor at a local university here, or I guess it's a national university. And I would tell my students all the time around, as they were looking at starting their own business, like, identify what's your value proposition and what is your niche. And so we had an earlier question from the panel, right, around how do you stand out in an oversaturated ecosystem, if that was the perception. And your story shows how you did that. You identified where there was a gap within the market and made sure that you could build a company around that to fit that niche. So kudos to you. Tell us a little bit more about what new markets and geographies you might be looking to expand into.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. Our company is headquartered in Hawaii. That's just where the company started. The rest of our team is in, that's part of the US team, is in Colorado and in California. And as I've looked at growth for the company, for Pacific Point, going back many, several years, I wanted to leverage the geography, right? Because at first it was really a problem solving in Hawaii, but then I thought about how can we problem solve beyond that, right? And so I started looking to the APAC region. We've opened up our Australia entity, and we have a great team there. We also recently opened up Singapore. And speaking of diversity, while we all speak English in these places, our Zoom calls can be a little bit of fun with all the accents that we have on our team. So, but in short, our company is headquartered here. That's where we were founded. But we are kind of looking beyond our space and how we can bring a unique value proposition beyond just Hawaii.
I love it. I am going to make sure that I'm following you wherever I'm coming to visit. Everywhere you are. Vera, I'm coming to you too in the UK, and of course, Nikhil, I'll be in Virginia at some point when the world opens up. So thank you for sharing that. And Dina, you touched on challenges, right? I think sometimes we can overglorify the idea of entrepreneurship and the freedom it brings us, but I want us to make sure that one of the things that we get out of this conversation is honesty. So let's just really keep it real. While there are so many benefits of entrepreneurship, it does come with those own unique set of challenges. So I want to open it up to the group and hoping that, this could be just an open dialogue and discussion. What keeps you all up at night? And have you experienced any hurdles at all that you would like to share?
I'm happy to go first because I probably am hurting the most from the hurdles at the moment. It's interesting, I think, because this experience for me, and I've told people this, I look back on my career, and in my early 20s, I think I worked harder than physically possible. And I always kind of use that as a badge of honor, like, well, just work so hard. So this will be fine. This is just hard work, but I'm good at that. It's a completely different experience. And it's a very humbling experience. I think, especially, for me, there's the obvious parts, right, of coming from managing a really big team where you've got an executive assistant and people, around to help you do things, to, it literally you being marketing, sales, delivery, everything in a single, body. But I think it's also the realization that, to the earlier question, what differentiates you? I think we underestimate when we are part of a big brand how much awareness that just carries with it, how much credence it carries with it. And, there was part of me that thought, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for a long time. Like, surely, like, we're just going to get on the phone with people and they're going to be like, oh, yes, we want to services. And, getting on the phone and people being like, solution what? Solution junkie. That's a bit weird. Like, and who are you and what do you do? And it's definitely been, kind of honing in on, what is the value that you add to customers? How do you approach the right size of the market? And how do you, to your point, Dina, how do you, keep from crying on a seemingly daily basis when, stuff does go wrong, as it does in small companies all the time? How do you kind of keep the motivation, keep the team motivated, and start to build a brand, which is probably one of the hardest things, I've definitely ever done. I imagine one of the hardest things out there.
Yeah, I'll jump in to add. For me, some challenges is definitely putting yourself out there, and the networking that it requires, the marketing, the selling yourself. And I think sometimes I know as some women and then some men as well have a difficult time, speaking highly of themselves and selling the company and convincing people that you can do the work. So I think that's one of the challenges that I face. And I think in addition from the previous panel is finding really good resources and being able to bring on that talent to be able to deliver those solutions. And so we're constantly recruiting, looking, and we're, being in the Washington, D.C. area, we are competing with, the big guys who are able to also secure that talent. And so I really liked what Rena said earlier about, opening your mind about the geography and how you recruit and who you recruit. So those things, I actually took little mental notes as she was talking today about what we can do differently to be able to recruit, additional talent to support our initiatives.
I like that. And just to put a little plug in, Salesforce launched a Talent Alliance program back in the summer of last year. And it is working with our partners within our ecosystem who are making a commitment to hire more diverse talent. And so we partner and work with workforce development organizations, including the likes of HBCU Force and Mom Relaunch that were on the first panel, who develop that talent. And we help facilitate that connection to the partners who are looking to grow that talent. Again, thinking about that Salesforce economy with 4.2 million jobs by the year 2020, 24, 25 timeframe. So recognizing that growth is a challenge in hiring the right folks. Dina, what about you? What challenges have you faced and what hurdles have you worked to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, I think the common one that a lot of people talk about, although maybe not directly with something that I did, but it's something to kind of put on the table, is raising capital, looking at VC funding or those kinds of options. It's something that I made a decision to choose to have a more organic growth path for our company. And, I think as an entrepreneur, making those big decisions about funding and things like that are super critical. Funny enough, like this week, I actually had on my podcast a VC, and he was talking about, he's like, it isn't for everyone to get funded in that way and to be accountable to a board and have to report back and hit those targets. And for me, that just wasn't what I wanted to do. And so, a little bit more of an organic path was one that I took. But as far as like what's top of mind for me, right here, right now, I feel like building team is just the main thing that I think about all the time. And I think people have said it already, from all aspects, hiring, training, communication, culture, it's just so important. And I'm always thinking about how can I make things better as a process for the team? How can I make them feel more connected to each other, to our company? How can I help them develop skills, maybe try new things that they haven't had a chance to do? And it's just something that I'm constantly thinking about. And it's difficult, it's challenging to solve it. And it's a little bit of art, a lot of times, and understanding people and understanding how that fits with your business and putting that puzzle together, so to speak. So that's probably always, on my mind, other than the ebbs and flows of the natural stress of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. Has anybody, so I hear a couple of things that are challenges. I want to just summarize those things because I think it's important for even the other entrepreneurs that are listening to know that they're not alone. I heard you say that wearing multiple hats, we already know that. You have to be the marketer, the finance person, the admin, whatever, all of these different roles that you have to play. And you don't, especially for those coming from a big, strong brand, have to work to build that reputation. One of the things I didn't mention this earlier, Vera, but I want to say is that Going back to the value proposition, I would always talk about the value that smaller businesses bring because you can be more agile. You can be more customized in your approaches and your solutions. And even in some cases, I think there's this negative perception that they're more expensive or that whatever the negative perceptions are. But there's a lot of values with working with smaller firms in my experience. And so I want to encourage you all to think about those things as you are building your brand and your reputation, especially as a new company. So I heard that is something with that. I see some head nods. Does that resonate with you all? Tell me, how do you talk about your value proposition when you're going up against some of the bigger players in your industry or in your field?
I think you hit it on the head, Mania. I mean, it's certainly the care that we put in the team. I mentioned earlier about, the relationships that we build with our team and our customers. I worked in big consulting firms and I loved those experiences, but there's so much care that gets put into the work that we do. It's so close to home for all of us on the team. And I think that clients, feeling comfortable with a skill set, absolutely. But then that next level, I think, is an extra value for many customers to feel like you are connected and you care so deeply about their success in a different way, because it's real, right? It's real for us. So not that it isn't real for the others, but you know what I'm saying. It's much more personal in some respect.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I think, and you hit it a little bit with, the pricing and the kind of benefits of being a small business. Like a lot of our value prop is, we've worked really hard to cultivate talent that has a lot of Salesforce experience. I think our average tenure across the team is almost 8 years. So when we go to clients, we say, look, these people know this product inside and out. They are experts on the platform. They are the same people that you would get, if not better, than you do at the big firms. But actually, because of the flexibility that we have in our business model, we can give it to you at a price you can actually afford. So we don't have all of the R&D costs and, all of the overhead that comes with running a big organization. So, our costs are closer to what we pay people out, which, I think benefits the customer in so many ways to be able to acquire that talent and leverage it without having massive overheads built in.
Yeah, I think that's the same. Both of those points are the same for us. We always say that you have direct access to leadership if something goes wrong. So if you need to talk about something, the customers know that they have myself, my partner. We're there to address whatever issues they're having. And I think one other way that we sell it is that we have relationships with the big companies. So if we get a project and things and we need additional bench strength, we can leverage those partnerships and bring them on as subcontractors to us as a small business. So those are some of the messaging and some of the messaging that we use to sell our small business to our customers.
I love it. All great. Before we pivot to the next topic, which is going to be about empowerment and community, I want to also share, I think one of the other things that in my experience, I've found that smaller businesses struggle with is not only access to capital, as Dina has mentioned, but also sometimes you have longer payment terms that are on the boilerplates of these contracts that you're signing with your customers. And so making sure that I guess I would encourage you to try to negotiate that, because there's many corporations who now understand, they can't have these standard payment terms of 60, 90 days when you have people that you need to pay within 30 days. And I'm proud to say that Salesforce is one of those companies that recognize that need, and we've accelerated our payment terms where we're paying smaller businesses within 15 days so that you're not having to bear that burden. So make sure that you're negotiating when you have these conversations with your customers, because trust and believe the bigger companies are. And so with that, I want to transition over to the topic around community, because all of you all gave really great examples, and even just creating this space for us to talk, for you all to talk with each other, the Salesforce Founders Group, for you to be able to share your stories on this platform so that our audience can listen in, is creating this community that helps us to empower one another. And you've each told your stories on your journey, how you did it, the support that you've had along the way. And I'm sure that you've also had family and friends who have cheered you on along the way. What is one way that women can work in the community to support one another? And this is posed to all of you.
I'm happy to take that. I think I would open it up to not even just women. I would say the partner community at large. The Salesforce opportunity is massive. There is more, and you said this in the stats that you shared at the beginning, right? There's more work than all of us combined could ever serve. And so us competing, which we always will, there's no, you're not avoiding that, but us trying to constantly go after the same thing in a really competitive, combative way is silly. If we banded together and we partnered more and helped each other out more and started to have realistic conversations around, where we should play and stop all trying to play everywhere, we'd be so much better served. And I think a lot of the struggles that we have in terms of, where we fall in the market is because we're all so isolated. We're running our businesses and we're kind of heads down, getting through the day, hiring people, worried about either our internal organizations or our clients, and we're not actually picking our head up to say, what's happening around me? Who can I help? And I think especially I've become grossly aware of that during the pandemic. There were a lot of consultancies that were genuinely struggling, and you think as much as, yes, we all want to win the next bid, you don't want to see somebody go out of business. Like, that's not good for any of us. And so I do think there's an element of us as a partner community banding together and coming closer together. And I think especially as women, like, the reality is we shared that slide in the beginning. There's not that many people on it, unfortunately, right? And so we're only going to increase that list by encouraging each other more, through, I think, communities like this, but also just sounding boards. Like, as we all said, this is hard. And there are some days where, woman to woman, you kind of need somebody to go, girl, it's going to be all right. Like, you're going to get through this. And I think we could do a lot more for each other in that respect than we do today. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barrett. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. I also think too, like, sharing your story. So I think it's important for us to get out there and share our story, attend these panels, these sessions. I know that's something that I've decided to do more of this year, is sharing my story, because I would like to encourage more young people to pursue careers in technology and see themselves as doing so. We recently participated on a panel for another organization, and we were kind of bummed because none of the students raised their hand for IT. And so that kind of, took us back, and we were thinking, okay, so what can we do to get out there and encourage people to want to pursue these careers? So it's renewing a little bit in me personally to get reconnected with the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society of Women Engineers, getting reconnected with those organizations so that we can start developing that talent pipeline of those people who want a career in tech.
Yeah. From my side, if I reflect on my career and from corporate to entrepreneurship, I feel like I've had a lot of great encouraging words from people, and the support, like Barrett mentioned. Just saying something that really cheers someone along is obviously more impactful than I think people realize. So I think doing that, but in addition, taking it maybe a step further, I'm a really big believer in chasing opportunity throughout, whether career and including, it's followed through 100% through on my entrepreneurial journey as well. It's not necessarily just money or titles. And if anybody's heard some of my past stories, you'd have heard me talk about how there was at least 2 times in my career where I purposefully took pay cuts so that I could get a job opportunity that in the short term was less money, but in the long term, it positioned me for bigger things. And I think if you have a great opportunity where you work today, optimize that, learn what you can, gain everything you absolutely can from it, because opportunity isn't always easy to find. And that's different from money and title. And so I would just ask all of us women and just everybody in general, to help each other identify an opportunity. Because I think sometimes it's hard to see that when you see a title, or you see, maybe in our case, like a bid or something that we're after, or, a job that offers more money, to really think about, is this opportunity? So help identify opportunity for those around you, and, get maybe it's specific experience, maybe a specific skill set that you're trying to gain, certain industry. I mean, sometimes it's for me, like I need certain experience with my company, and I'm going to take a little bit of a hit to make that decision because it positions me better for other things, right? That's a strategic way to look at your career, but also look at your business. Opportunity can even be a role being around a specific person or a leader so that you can really learn as much as you can from that person. So opportunities, it's a phrase that, really can mean something strategic for you. So I would say, in short, help each other identify opportunity and chase that opportunity, because it's easy to have the blinders on when you see the here and now kind of things that you may gain from something. So anyways, that would be my other bit for community help with each other.
I like that, Vera. I saw you shaking your head a lot. Did you have something you wanted to add into, was that resonating with you?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just even the idea that you've got such blinders on, and I think this is a problem for all of us, is we just live in such a fast-paced world, and whether you're running a company, whether you're a consultant, like the world of Salesforce just moves so quickly, and I think we often don't take time to reflect. Even as you think about career moves, part of me in starting this company realized actually it had been 10 years since I asked myself if I was happy in my job, and it's because you're just moving so quickly. You're just trying to get through the day, just trying to get through the week, just trying to get through this next bid, this next project, and to actually sit down and give your brain the room and the authority to ruminate and to ask yourself some hard questions, and to think, to your point, long term about where do I actually want to be? Because it's probably not exactly where I am today, and if I'm not constantly evaluating that and looking for opportunities, I'm going to miss something that would put me potentially on a completely different track, or accelerate that journey. But I do think we need to encourage each other to breathe and to do that and to reflect, because we do get so caught up in things that are really important right now, and it's somebody shoving you to be like, yeah, take a step back.
Yeah,
I love that.
All of this resonates with me. It's kind of cliche to say follow your passion and the money will come, but there's some truth to that. I think you chase the opportunity and not the paycheck, and you'll be a lot more fulfilled. And that's what I've found in my career. So thank you for sharing. We have a few minutes left, so I want to see if there are any questions from the audience. I'll just kick us started. So if you're in the audience and you have some questions, please put them there for the panelists so we can ask those questions. I'm going to start with one. And this is for all of you. What advice do you have for women just starting their career in tech, or those who might be considering entrepreneurship? Nikhil, maybe we'll start with you, because you shared that you were looking at, meeting with some young women, or young people, excuse me. What advice would you share for them to get them to convert them to start a career in tech?
I think finding a mentor, finding someone who's doing it, and just kind of interviewing them and understanding what they're doing. I think Tiffany said on the previous panel, sometimes you can get on LinkedIn and reach out. So if you're searching for a certain type of job or doing certain things, put yourself out there, maybe reaching out, just say, hey, I'd like to ask you questions. I'm trying to learn about my next steps for my career. And I know for me, I had a lot of people who were able to help me and give me advice in my career. And so I know I know how important that is, how helpful it is in terms of helping you figure out your path, because you may not know. So you should probably talk to a bunch of different people and to get their experiences.
That's a good one. The one that I would add from my views, I'm really big on experience, and I think that if you're starting out in tech, anything you can do to get hands-on. I mean, looking at Trailhead is amazing, and doing Trailheads are fantastic, but find some ways, and again, maybe it's a little bit of a pay cut or whatever, but if you're starting out, the hands-on is really deeply knowing something, and that's extremely valuable, and it gives you an incredible amount of confidence that you need to kind of carry you forward throughout your career, because tech can feel a little overwhelming, or maybe if you look at a trailer, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I get it, but like getting hands-on is going to really make it click and help you build the confidence to go out there and get that next opportunity.
I agree. I would almost combine those two things in a weird and wonderful way. But I would say, yes, get used to working hard and gain a breadth of experience, because I think a lot of times we tell people so quickly to focus in the world of Salesforce, and do you want to be a marketing cloud consultant? Do you want to be a CPQ consultant? And I think what makes a great consultant is somebody who can solve problems, which takes a breadth of experience. And I remember really early on in my career, one of the best things I did would just do anything. I was hungry for billable hours because we had a bonus and I was poor. But I would train, I would sit in even on integration meetings, which I didn't understand half of it, and say, I'll take your notes and then I'll go back and try to format this in a way that makes your job easier. And it was that kind of unknowingly just wanting to collect as many billable hours and as much experience as possible that gave me a wide range, I think, of experience that I played on for the rest of my career. But I think with that, what I would add is don't be afraid to ask for help. To Nicole's point, find people who can help raise you up, who can help guide you. Because I made the mistake, I think, very early on of thinking I was young, I was in tech, I was a woman, and therefore, if I showed any sort of weakness, that was reflected on me for all of those reasons. And so I worked really hard, too hard, in ways that I shouldn't have, actually, if I had just been smart enough to reach out and to ask for advice and to lean on people who did want to help me build my career. I would have gotten some of that, both hard and soft skills, faster, but I was too afraid to show weakness. So I would say work hard, but find somebody and build a network of people who can lift you up and help you get there faster.
That is wonderful advice. All of you have said fantastic things. And Vera, what you just said totally resonates with me, especially in this busy time that we have today, in this busy season. I think we are running out of time. I personally have enjoyed everything that we heard today. And I just want to say again, a huge thank you to Dina, Nikhil, Vera, for sharing your stories and insight with us today. Sarah, I know we could keep this conversation going on, but we've been here for about an hour and 45 minutes. So I want to turn it back over to you to wrap us up. Thank you.
Great. Wow. What an amazing event we had today. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the incredible women that we have had to highlight today. I know I have loved hearing all of your stories, and I'm very encouraged by not only the number of people that registered for this event, but that also attended the event. And hopefully you got out a lot out of it. Thank you for spending your time with us. I know how valuable everyone's time is. And for continuing the critical work of increasing women's talent in the tech field, and especially in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we have a survey. If you could post it in the chat one more time, that would be great. We really want to hear your feedback. We want to know what we did right, what we can improve. We plan to have another quarterly event in June. We'd like to know what topics you're interested in hearing about so that we can plan around that. In the meantime, please continue to network with others in this community and the other diverse communities that have also just been set up, at least within the Salesforce partner world. But there's a lot of other ones out there too. It's time, if we all work together, that we can, rise and shine our businesses together. So now is the time to help these businesses grow and become successful and profitable players in the Salesforce ecosystem. Mania mentioned, the predicted economy that will surround all of this, and it's amazing opportunity, and we should all go take advantage of that. So once again, thank you for taking the time to support our group, and I look forward to seeing all of you at the next gathering. Have a great day. Bye.